So this is a test class for the first tracks of Introduction to Japanese, which I'm uploading for native speaker feedback. So if you can share this around and we can get some native speaker feedback to make sure that I've not done anything wrong. And then these tracks will be recorded. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So, speaking a new language is much more about learning to translate thought rather than translating language in itself, which is a common misconception that leads most people to an impasse pretty soon in language learning. In fact, we're already translating thought into our native language when we speak it. We just tend not to be so aware that we're doing it. Sometimes, though, we hunt for a word to give the precise meaning we feel and we can't find it. And in those moments, it's clear we are translating something other than language when we speak. We're translating thought into language. Of course, we can dialogue with ourselves, but when we do that, we are already translating thought into language. So they're not one and the same. So to speak Japanese, we need to learn to translate our thought into Japanese rather than translating our English into Japanese. After all, if words just translated into words, none of them would mean anything at all. So words are translations of ideas rather than of one another. It's meaning we translate into words rather than just other words. And that meaning is not only contained in the words themselves, no, it's also contained in the order of the words. For example, I can doesn't carry the same meaning in English as can I, no? But can I, translated directly into Japanese, would lose all its meaning. That's not how we make a question in Japanese. So to master other languages, and especially such a different language like Japanese, we need to make this process of how we already translate thought and feelings into English more conscious, and see how Japanese does that differently. So let's begin. In English we have the verb to be, which also has the forms of is, am, are. We don't usually say I be, no, but I am. So is, am, are, that's all from to be in English. And all of these words, or rather all of these ideas of being, we can express with the very same word in Japanese, des.
Des.
Des. So just with des, you can already say what your name is in Japanese. Only what you will say in Japanese is your name, and then be or am, des. No, des comes afterwards. So,
Lee des.
Lee des. Mihalis des. Good. So we're actually leaving out the word for I, which can be assumed from the context. Des is enough. So des all by itself can communicate we are, you are, they are, he is, she is, I am, precisely because words like I, she, we are generally left out in Japanese as opposed to English where we almost always include them. So if des, we could be talking about anyone or anything. So we could say I am Lee, I am Mihalis, or we could say he is Mario, it's Mario. How would you say that?
Mario des.
Mario des. So Mario des, it can mean he is Mario or it's Mario on the phone. No, we get both of those meanings. Again, we're leaving out the word for he or it. Now, you may already know that the Japanese language and culture is quite concerned with politeness and honor. But that doesn't mean that you have to talk extra polite all the time. It's much more nuanced and interesting than that. So for example, Mario des is the way you would say he is Mario, only if Mario belongs to your in-group as opposed to someone else's in-group. If Mario is someone else's friend rather than your own, you would likely be a bit more polite about Mario and say Mario-san instead of just Mario, Mario-san. So being a bit more polite to say it's Mario?
Mario-san des.
Mario-san des, good. So Mario-san is something like Mr. Mario. This san, you may know from movies. I think you're about my age, so you probably know it from...
It's Karate Kid.
Daniel-san from Karate Kid. Good. So it is Mario talking about somebody else's Mario, Mario-san des. So speaking Japanese well isn't just about being polite all the time, putting san all the time, no, when you talk about someone else. That would be an oversimplification of Japanese culture, and oversimplifying any culture comes across as either childish or brutish, no? One or the other. So in Japanese culture, whilst it's polite to speak about others with honor, it's also polite to downplay your own in-group when met with another social group. In a similar way to how in British English, it can be polite to be self-deprecating, no? The word for good in Japanese is i,
E.
That's a long vowel, E, and it's important to pronounce it long in the same way the difference between sheep and ship is important in English, or sheet and...
And what?
So good is E. How would you say it's good or it is good?
E des.
E des, and they are good?
E des.
E des, it's the same, no? We don't say they as we generally won't. We didn't say they as we generally won't because it will be clear from the context. E des. So des is a very useful little word, but as we are seeing, language isn't just about translating words, no? It's about reconstructing ideas. An idea like it is good or I am Mario is constructed differently in Japanese. We say good is, Mario is, and we don't repeat assumed information, no? Like he or I or it. And apart from that, we may have to think about other things, no? Like who Mario is. Is Mario in my in-group or my out-group? No? How honorific should we be about Mario? These are ideas we translate into language rather than one language we translate to another. How would you say I'm good again?
E des.
E des. And in Japanese, e des, I'm good, can be used in the idiomatic sense as an alternative to no thanks. No, e des, like I've had enough, I don't want any more,
right.
Thanks. So that idea translates to, we shouldn't expect idiomatic meanings like this to necessarily translate, but sometimes they do. So if someone offers you more sake, for example, you can say, e des, I'm good, presuming you don't want any more.
Right.
Of course. So e means good, and the word for bad in Japanese is warui, warui.
Warui.
So this sound in the middle is like between an R and an L, the warui, warui.
Warui.
I don't know if you ever played the game Super Mario.
Love it.
Well, this is where the baddie comes from, Wario.
Wario.
He's bad Mario.
Wario. Okay.
He's warui Mario, Wario. Similar to how we get brunch, no, by combining breakfast and lunch. So that can help us remember warui. So warui means bad in Japanese. If you want to say I'm bad, they are bad, it is bad, all the same sentence in Japanese.
Warui desu.
Warui desu. Good. If you want to make that a question, in English we invert the word order, no? There to express that idea. It is becomes is it. Is it bad? I am becomes am I. In Japanese though, we have a totally different way to express the idea of a question. We have what we might call a spoken question mark, which is ka. So we put this after desu ka, to make a question. So if you want to say, is it bad?
Warui desu ka?
Warui desu ka? And the word for good was?
E.
Good. Are they good?
E desu ka?
E desu ka. Good. So you don't need to even make it sound like a question, raising your intonation as we do in English. That's the job of ka. You can use intonation though, and it's common too, but you don't need to because we have our spoken question mark there. E desu ka? So we've learned a couple of adjectives describing words. E, good, warui, bad. Another useful one is samui, which means cold. Similar in form to warui, all the same vowels, just the consonants change, no? Warui, bad, samui, cold. How would you say I'm cold?
Samui desu.
Samui desu. And it's cold like the weather?
Samui desu.
Samui desu. And is it cold?
Samui desu. Samui desu ka?
Samui desu ka? Good. We saw E has an idiomatic use in Japanese, just like in English. I'm good, I've had enough, I don't want any. Samui also has an idiomatic use, or rather more like a slang use. When a joke doesn't quite land in Japanese, you can say samui, samui desu.
Awesome.
No, like that was lame. Not
Right.
Samui desu.
Cool.
Track 2. What would be track 2? What we've learned so far in Japanese is actually a rather formal way of speaking. The type of Japanese we'll use with other adults we're unfamiliar with, or anyone we might be expected to maintain formal relationships with in spite of familiarity, say a boss, for example. Informal Japanese is precisely that, informal. Informal Japanese has less form. For example, if you wanted to say it's cold or it's bad, speaking informally, familiarly, you would drop des altogether and just say cold to say it is cold. How would you do that?
Samui.
Samui. Samui. So samui all by itself can mean it's cold, I'm cold when you're talking informally, no? And if you wanted to make the question, is it cold, you can rely entirely on your intonation in informal sentences. No need to use ka. Ka adds form, and now we're being informal. So to ask, is it cold?
Samui?
Samui? So for informal Japanese, we have less form. We don't use des, and we don't need to use ka either. Although, we still can to achieve certain nuances. Like if you say, samui ka? It might sound like, oh, you think it's cold, do you? You know, like you don't know cold. Samui ka? Right?
Okay.
So you can get a different nuance, but it's not there for form.
Right.
No? So otherwise, for an informal question, you're just going to rely on your intonation. Samui? So we can take the term informal quite literally now for Japanese. The more informal the sentence, the less form we give to it. So it is good, speaking informally.
いいです。
Informal.
Informally. いい。
E. And it is bad, still informal.
悪い。
Warui, good. The word for food, or the food, in Japanese is tabemono. Tabemono.
食べ物。
Tabe relates to eating, and mono means thing. So tabemono, eat thing, food. So how might you say it is food or it's the food? Speaking formally again, as we would with people we're not close with.
食べ物です。
Tabemono this, good, with des. Tabemono this, it is food, it's the food. It is good food. Good food, it is in Japanese.
いい食べ物です。
I tabemono this, good. Is it good food?
いい食べ物です。いい食べ物ですか?
I tabemono desu ka? Good. So just informally, is it good food?
いい食べ物です。Oh, sorry, informally. いい食べ物です。No, sorry, いい食べ物?
Good. I tabemono? Good.
いい食べ物?
Good, good, good.
Yeah.
So we just say good food, no?
Yeah.
Making it sound like a question without intonation. We reduce the form and the sentence becomes informal. So we have ka, no, which is something like a spoken question mark, and in more formal sentences this adds form, hence giving us formality, as well as allowing us to go lighter on the interrogative intonation if we so wish, as we may wish in more formal contexts, no? And in informal sentences, ka is not generally used, and if we do, it's not about adding form anymore, but rather nuance, no? So, you know, like, oh, you think this is good food? Ii tabemono ka? You know, this is good food for you, is it? Jesus,
Right.
you know? So ka is a spoken question mark, which is an interesting concept, no? But we also have some more spoken punctuation in Japanese. We have a spoken exclamation mark too. Yo, yo.
よ。
Yo adds many different manners of emphasis depending on the tone and the context, much like an exclamation mark does in English. So if we want to say it's good with some surprise, for example, like we weren't expecting something to be good, we could use yo, our spoken exclamation mark. Let's say that formally. It is good.
いいですよ。
いいでしょ. It is good, you know, we're like surprise. いいでしょ.
Yeah.
It's bad, huh? What might this huh translate as? It's bad, huh?
Would you use よ in that? Would it be 悪いですよ?
悪いですよ.
悪いですよ.
No? So even though that's questioning, huh? No, it's really emphatic there. That's the point of it.
Right.
No? So you might have thought, oh, that's a question, we've got to put ka, but not really. It's more emphatic, no?
Yeah.
悪いですよ. Unless formally, we can lose this.
悪いよ.
悪いよ. So yo, unlike ka, isn't adding form or formality, but rather exclamatory or emphatic vibes, no? So it's used the same in formal and informal sentences. 悪いよ, 悪いですよ. How would we say it's bad food with some exclamation, as will probably be quite natural in such a sentence, no? It's bad food formally.
悪い食べ物ですよ.
悪い食べ物ですよ. Good. When we talk about warui tabemono, it means like junk food in Japanese, no?
Ah, right.
If with bad we mean bad tasting, the word in Japanese is mazui, mazui.
まずい.
It also has the same vowels as warui, bad, and samui, cold, mazui. So if we want to say it is bad, and we're referring to taste, we can use mazui. So let's say that formally, it's bad tasting.
まずいです.
Mazui desu. And with our spoken exclamation mark, as might come quite naturally here, saying something's bad tasting. It really depends on the context.
まずいですよ.
Mazui desu yo. And informally,
まずいよ.
mazui yo. So this might be exclamatory in the sense of don't eat it, it's horrible, like a warning, no. Or maybe someone said the food is good and we want to contradict that, no, it's bad. Or maybe just the fact we're saying something is bad, expressing that subjective opinion is enough for our spoken exclamation mark. It really depends on the conversational context. Observing it live, we'll get a much better idea of how it's used. How would we ask if something is bad tasting, speaking formally now?
Mazui desu ka?
Mazui desu ka? Is it cold?
Samui desu ka?
Samui desu ka? It is cold, We're translating ideas, remember, more than words. So how might we achieve the same feeling in Japanese?
Samui desu yo?
Samui desu yo? No? We're not asking if you know. We are just being exclamatory. It's cold, It depends on the context. And the one I'm imagining, like, put your coat on, it's cold,
Yeah.
Samui desu yo?
Samui desu yo.
And informally, we can lose a bit of form there.
Samui yo.
Samui yo? So what if we ask if it's cold informally?
Samui ka? Not informally. Samui?
Samui is all we need. No, you could add ka, but it wouldn't be necessary. It would be more emphatic, like, like I said, like, oh,
Samui?
This is cold for you, is it? Samui ka, Maybe your friend from Barbados comes to visit you in Norway. Hold on, I think that'd be the other way around. All right. So again, we don't translate words into a new language, but rather meaning.
Okay.
And so to learn a new language, it's good to increase our consciousness of all the different meanings that often live in the same English word, because they may not all always translate over into the same word. So in the case of cold, we might refer to anything from the weather to food to a person's character with this word cold in English. But in Japanese, samui refers to cold weather and feeling cold in the body. If something is cold to the touch, like food, samui is not the appropriate word anymore, but rather we have another adjective, tsumetai.
Tsumetai.
So this is a kind of new sound, the ts together at the beginning of the word, like in tsunami, which is also a Japanese word. Tsumetai, cold. So that refers to things that are cold to the touch, like food would be. So if you want to say cold food,
Tsumetai tabemono.
Tsumetai tabemono. Good. Is it cold food, speaking formally?
Tsumetai tabemono desu ka?
Tsumetai tabemono desu ka? Very good. Now, imagine there's a buffet and your friend complains that the food is not warm enough. But the whole point of the buffet is that it's a cold buffet.
Right.
You might say something like, it is a cold buffet. No. Let's translate that tone. It is a cold buffet in that context. Buffet in Japanese is buffet. We have a double F there. Buffet. So in this context now, your friend complaining that the food is not warm enough and you're like, it is a cold buffet.
Samui buffet desu.
Okay, what was the word for cold to the touch?
Oh, tsumetai. Tsumetai buffet desu.
Tsumetai buffet desu. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're just clarifying to that person that the buffet is cold. What if you wanted to add a little bit of that attitude now? That exclamatory attitude of, it is a cold buffet.
Tsumetai buffet yo. Tsumetai buffet desu yo.
Tsumetai buffet desu yo. Good. So, other than a spoken exclamation mark, we might also compare yo to other things we do in English, like how we normally say it's cold, but then to add emphasis, we can say it is cold. It is cold. No, it is instead of it's adds emphasis.
Yeah.
Your might be the translation of that. It is a cold buffet. It is a cold buffet. So whilst we can think of your as a spoken exclamation mark, many different things we do for exclamation in English might translate into your. With something such as your, we really want to observe natives to see how they use it in context now in order to finely tune how we ourselves use it. So we've seen that the meanings of cold in English divide themselves in Japanese between samui and tsumetai. For feeling cold or cold weather, we have samui. And being cold to the touch, tsumetai. But in English, we can also describe someone as cold to mean they have a cold character. We shouldn't assume Japanese also uses such a figurative idea, but in this case it does. You can say someone is cold to mean cold-natured in Japanese, but we do have to choose between samui and tsumetai. So according to Japanese, a cold-charactered person is cold to the touch.
Okay.
They emit cold like a cold object. So we use Well, you can tell me which one we'd use. How would you say she is cold? And what we mean is cold-charactered.
冷たいです。
冷たいです. If you wanted to warn someone that someone is cold-natured, we can achieve this warning tone in Japanese with some spoken punctuation.
冷たいですよ。
冷たいですよ. You know, maybe you have a meeting with someone and someone gives you a warning. 冷たいですよ. Careful.
Nice.
And informally, the same.
冷たい or 冷たいよ.
Good. If we want that feeling, we want to maintain the yo. No, 冷たいよ.
冷たいよ.
So we've seen that our focus must be on identifying ideas rather than words when learning a new language, and especially when it comes to such a different language and culture, which is less likely to pair up ideas in the same way as English. When we think of an English word with different applications, we shouldn't necessarily expect them all to translate into the same word. Bad as in quality or nature is warui, but bad as in bad tasting is mazui. Cold as in the weather is samui, but a cold object or a cold-charactered person is sumetai. So the more suspicious we are that we may not always be saying what we mean to say, the quicker and the better we'll self-correct when we're not. I'm going heavy on this because I don't want to create like false confidence that blocks people out to... Sorry for breaking the fourth wall there.
No, I break it. It's good. I like it. It's good. Yeah.
All right, track 3.
All right.
The word for said in Japanese is itta. Itta.
Itta.
So we have a double consonant, which is a pause in reality, no? The same as what we had in buffe. Itta. So that's the word for said. And as we know, if we know who we're talking about, we'll leave out words like he, I, we in Japanese. And so itta might mean I said, she said, they said, we said. Itta counts for everybody. So he said it. We don't need to include the word for it either. So he said it.
Itta.
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 They did say it.
Itta yo.
Bravo. Okay, good. You picked up on that. Well done. They did say it, no? So, before I said like using it is instead of it's can translate into yo. No, in the similar way, the way we use do or did to be emphatic or exclamatory in English might also translate over into yo.
Sure.
No, when we say they did say it rather than just they said it. No, itta yo. So itta, like des, counts for everybody. Unlike des, though, itta is an informal word. We'll use it when in familiar, casual company. So if we want to make a question, did they say it? How do we do that, seeing that itta is an informal word?
If itta is an informal word, could I say ittaka or itta desu ka?
So it's informal. So what do you do for
loose form
questions?
Oh, so just itta?
Exactly.
Okay.
Good.
Right.
Itta. Good. We could add ka in this informal sentence, but it would make the question much sharper, even aggressive,
Okay.
or abrasive, or surprised, offended.
Right.
Ittaka, you said that? But that said, I think in all languages, men, in most cultures, when men speak together, often we start talking to each other abrasively to show that we're getting closer.
Okay, yeah.
So in context, like between guys, for example, maybe that's something you would hear when you start getting close and, you kind of like start taking the piss out of each other a little bit in the way bants, no?
Okay.
But otherwise, itta is enough. So we've seen ka, our spoken question mark, and yo, our spoken exclamation mark. The Japanese has some more spoken punctuation too. We also have a spoken quotation mark. So if we want to use itta to say what someone said, then we can use our spoken quotation mark, to. So if you want to say he said it's cold, we'll say what he said, then we put our spoken quotation mark to, and then we say said. So let's try that. Do you remember the word for cold regarding weather? Rhymed with bad, warui? Samui. So he said it's cold. Let's first say what he said.
Samui?
It's cold. And let's imagine he was talking formally when he said it.
Samui desu.
Samui desu. And now we put our spoken quotation mark followed by said.
Samui desu. To itta.
Good. So we're talking informally with someone because we've used itta, right? But we're quoting someone that spoke formally.
Okay.
Samui desu to itta. He said it's cold. We're quoting with to. It's a spoken quotation mark. They said it's a cold buffet. And let's imagine that they are our friends. So they were speaking informally.
冷たいビュッフェと言った。
Good. 冷たいビュッフェと言った. And we could also say something like, he asked if it's cold. We don't know the word for if, nor the word for asked, but we can express all of those meanings with our spoken punctuation. Let's imagine that question we are quoting was made formally. He asked if it's cold. Regarding the weather.
寒いですかと言った。
Bravo. 寒いですかと言った. Brilliant. No? We could also say, he exclaimed that it's cold. No? If we're quoting him directly.
寒いですよと言った。
Bravo. 寒いですよと言った. Very good. So especially with these sentences, we really understand how important it is to be more focused on translating thought rather than words, because in this way, we can often say much more than what we think we can say. Thinking about reorganizing the idea rather than just the words is a mega shortcut to proficiency. How would we say they asked if it's cold food? Food was tabemono, eat thing, no? Tabemono. So they asked if it's cold food.
冷たい食べ物ですかと言った。
Very good. 冷たい食べ物ですかと言った. Good. So of course this isn't the direct translation of they asked, no? But the same meaning can be communicated with the little Japanese that we know thanks to our spoken punctuation in Japanese. The word for friend in Japanese is tomodachi. Tomodachi.
友達。
And as we've seen, Japanese does not like to repeat obvious information, which is another thing that means we can often say more than what we actually know the words to say. So we might not know how to say my friend yet, but as my, your, our, his, her is information we tend to leave out in context, tomodachi can stand for all of that. Tomodachi can mean my friend, your friend, his friend,
right.
If it's clear by the context, no? You don't have the need to put my or his like we do in English. So we could say, it's my friend, just friend is, formally.
友達です。
Tomodachi desu. He said it's her friend. He said it's her friend.
友達ですと言った。
Very good. Tomodachi desu to itta. He asked if she's my friend. Your friend, he said.
友達ですかと言った。
Bravo. Tomodachi desu ka to itta. And informally?
友達と言った。
Well done. Tomodachi to itta. Tomodachi to itta. Very good. Number 4. The use of little sounds like ka, yo, or to in Japanese actually goes much further and wider than what we might call spoken punctuation. Words like ka, yo, and to are actually called particles, which is a fitting name considering how they float around the language doing all manner of different things. Sometimes they might be fulfilling roles we can describe as punctuation, but they actually fulfill many more roles than that. For example, to, apart from acting like a spoken question mark, can also give us the meaning of with. We can use to after a word to mean with. As we've been seeing, particles go after the words they affect. No, desu yo, desu ka. So, with my friend would be?
友達とです。Oh no.
Just
友達と。
tomodachi to. With my friend, tomodachi to.
友達と。
Good. And of course, we are leaving out my there, which would generally be assumed in context. We say friend with, tomodachi to. Itta, apart from said, can also mean went. That's just by coincidence. The past form of say and go, said and went, ended up looking the same in Japanese. So itta could mean said or went. So I went with my friend. The verb tends to come on the end in Japanese. So with my friend, I went.
友達と言った。
Very good. Tomodachi to itta. So tomodachi to itta, depending on the context, right, might mean someone said friend, or that someone went with their friend.
Oh, yeah,
no,
okay.
depending on the context. The word for who, or whom, for that matter, in Japanese is dare, dare.
Dare.
So that's like D-A-R-E, but then the R is between an R and an L. No? Dare, dare.
Dare.
So we could ask, who did you go with? With whom did you go?
Dare to itta.
Dare to itta. As itta is an informal form, we don't usually put ka, no? Dare to itta. How would we say, who is it? Just, who is it? Speaking formally.
Dare desu ka?
Very good. Dare desu ka? And informally?
Dare.
Dare? Good. So we saw that the particle to has more than one use, like a spoken quotation mark and like with. But it's not the literal translation of with either. Rather, to performs a function that we often perform with the word with in English. But that same function we might sometimes perform with the word and in English. Like if we say friends and food, for example, there we can also use to connect friends and food. So how would you say that?
Tomodachi to tabemono.
Good. Tomodachi to tabemono. The key to a happy life, no? Tomodachi to tabemono. So the particle to can serve the function of a spoken quotation mark, or it might be fulfilling the connective function of a word like with or and. Ka, our spoken question mark, also has an important additional function, albeit more connected to the interrogative use that we've seen. We can add ka to question words like dare, who, to get new words. So for example, we have dare, who, and dareka is someone. So that's a very different use of a particle, no, to the ones that we've seen so far. Now we're building entirely new words. Dare who, dareka, someone. So we can say someone went.
Dareka itta.
Dareka itta.
Dareka itta.
Good.
Yeah.
Or we might say they went with someone. No, of course they is the bit we can leave out if it's clear from context. They went with someone. With someone they went.
To dareka itta.
Good, but where does to come after what it...
Dareka to itta.
Very good. Dareka to itta.
Dareka to itta.
Good. They went with someone. So dare is who and dareka is someone, which if you think about it is kind of interesting because someone is also what you might say to answer a question without actually answering it. Like so if somebody says who and you want to answer without answering, who'd you go with? Someone. Right? So that's interesting. The Japanese maintains the question particle on it.
Right, yeah.
No, that's kind of some interesting philosophical genius there. No? So you've answered without answering and you actually keep the ka.
Anonymity.
Right, which in English is just a different word. Dare,
Yeah.
who, dareka, someone. How would you say, they went with someone okay? What does this okay do here with this tone? No? They went with someone, okay? What do you think that does?
Dareka to itta yo.
Good. Dareka to itta yo. You know, so this yo might give the feeling of like, stop asking me, that's all I know. They went with somebody,
Right.
You know? It might also mean something like, I thought you knew. They went with someone, I thought you knew. Dareka to itta yo.
Right.
Didn't you see? The word for where in Japanese is doko, doko.
Doko.
Where is it? Where is he? Where are they? All the same sentence in Japanese because that's information we tend to leave out, no? So let's ask that formally.
Doko desu ka?
Doko desu ka? Where is, spoken question mark, doko desu ka? So if doko is where, what might doko ka mean? Dare is who, dareka is someone, doko is where, and so doko ka?
Somewhere.
Somewhere. Good. So this is a cool pattern that will allow you to derive an extra word from all the question words. Dare who, dareka someone. Doko where, doko ka somewhere. She went somewhere.
Doko ka itta.
Very good. Somewhere she went. No? Doko ka itta. She went somewhere with someone.
Doko ka to dareko itta.
Oh, that was a salad. I think you just inverted a universe.
The sun went in when I said that. Something went wrong.
All right. So there's the verbs at the end, right? So she went somewhere with someone. So
Yeah.
the first thing we're going to say is with someone. We're going to say with someone, somewhere she went. So let's think one thought at a time. The first bit is with someone. And there's a couple of thoughts you need to have there.
Yeah.
Right?
With someone.
Yeah.
So someone is dareko.
Dareka.
Dareka to dokoka ita.
Well done. All right, good, very good. So again, she went somewhere with someone.
Dareka to dokoka ita.
Good. Dareka to dokoka ita. Very good. With someone, somewhere she went. Very good. Now let that go. Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Yep. It's all just about building it. Don't try and memorize
Trying to put it up here somewhere. Yeah.
It's all just about building
Yeah.
it, and then whatever you did to build it in your mind is what's left behind, and then let the sentence go so it doesn't interfere with the next ones. So let's do another one of these fun ka words. So nani means what in Japanese. Nani.
Nani.
If we add ka to this question word, we of course get a new word. If it's not obvious what that word means, we can think of our reply to what if we don't want to answer the question. So, first the word we're going to find in English is?
In English, what?
Yeah, the word we're going to find from what? What is it in English?
Something.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you think of the question? What,
Yeah.
what did you eat? Something. Good.
Right.
Right. So, nani, what, is going to become?
Nanika.
Nanika. Very good. Did he say something?
Nanika itta.
Nanika itta? Good. So the word for thing we found in tabemono, no? Food, edible thing, tabemono. Thing is mono. But something isn't a word we translate directly, like something, though. In Japanese, this word is built in an entirely different way, using the word for what, nani, plus our interrogative ka, nanika, something. And as we've seen, that forms part of a wider pattern of adding ka to question words. So particles are very useful little things in Japanese. They float around the language doing all manner of things with a wide variety of applications. The more we get to know any one particle, the more we get to know Japanese. Cool. Number 5. Tabemono means food. It's a noun, a word we can put the or my in front of in English. The food, my food, that's a noun. And I mentioned it actually means something like eat thing. Mono is the word for thing in Japanese. Tabemono, eat thing, edible thing, food. So tabemono is the noun, and then the verb is tabemasu.
Tabemasu.
A verb is a word we can put to in front of in English, like to say or to go. So if tabemono means food, what might tabemasu, the verb, mean? To what?
To eat.
To eat, good. To feed is also a good guess, but no,
Yeah.
it's to eat. If anyone at home said to feed. As we've seen, Japanese is big on leaving out obvious information. The structure of the language both makes that easy to do and necessary. For one, if we say all the information we do in English, we'd end up with a particle overload and a very laboured sentence in Japanese. So that means tabemasu, to eat, can also mean I eat, we eat, they eat. No, as mostly we don't say those words because it's known information. So, I eat with my friend, with my friend bit is important, but the I bit is most likely obvious, in context. So we say, with my friend, eat. I eat with my friend.
Tomodachi to tabemasu.
Tomodachi to tabemasu. Good. Tomodachi to tabemasu. Will you eat with your friend? Will is also something that Japanese leaves out. There's no actual future tense in Japanese because it's something that is discerned by context. So something like, will you eat with your friend, is something we can say.
Tomodachi to tabemasu ka?
Tomodachi to tabemasu ka? Will you eat with your friend? Who will they eat with? Who will they eat with? With who they eat?
Dare to tabemasu ka?
Very good. Dare to tabemasu ka? So the fact that we mean who will they eat with and not who do they eat with is entirely contextual. The sentence dare to tabemasu ka could mean either present or future. So verbs ending mas, like tabemasu, are actually the formal forms used when talking formally, like when we use des. For informal situations, we have an informal verb form ending u. In the case of tabemasu, that's taberu. Taberu.
Taberu.
So the same sentence informally, who will they eat with, instead of tabemas.
誰と食べるか
Good, but it's informal now, isn't
Oh,
it? So,
yeah. 誰と食べる
good. 誰と食べる. So, 食べる we use instead of 食べます
Yeah.
to be, that's the informal verb form. And apart from that, we have those other things that we learned, right? So, ka, for example, adds form
Yeah.
as a spoken question mark. And we don't really want that form when we're being informal.
Yeah.
誰と食べる? And will you eat with her friend? Still informal. Will you eat with her friend?
Will you eat with her friend?
Does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man. 友達と食べる
Good. 友達と食べる?
友達と食べる
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's by context that we know it's her friend, no? And that it's will, that it's future tense. So who is dare and somebody is
誰か
dareka? Will you eat with someone? Informal again.
誰と食べる
Dareka to taberu. Good. So for to eat, we have the formal verb tabemas and the informal version taberu. A drink or the drink, the beverage, a beverage. So the noun, this is nomimono, nomimono. So again, we have the mono there for thing, like drink thing, nomimono.
飲み物
Maybe you want to ask, is it a beverage? Are they beverages?
飲み物ですか
Nomimono desu ka? You know, maybe they're shaped to look like something else in a fancy restaurant,
Right.
and you have to ask, Nomimono desu ka? So the plural is something else that's mostly just contextual in Japanese. Now, are they beverages? Nomimono can mean beverage or beverages. So tabemono, food, is a noun, and then tabemasu is the verb to eat. Nomimono is the noun for beverage or a drink. And then to get the verb to drink, what might happen if we have tabemono, tabemasu, nomimono,
飲みます
nomimasu, to drink. The mas part of the verb ends u, by the way, like des does, but we don't tend to pronounce it. Will you drink? Do you drink?
飲めますか
Nomimasu ka?
飲めますか
This could imply alcohol as well. Nomimasu ka? Do you drink? Will you drink? Will you drink with your friend?
友達と飲めますか
Tomodachi to nomimasu ka? Good. That was very fast. Tomodachi to nomimasu ka? Who do you drink with? With who do you drink?
誰かと飲めますか誰と飲めますか
Very good.
Oh, yeah.
Dare to nomimasu ka? So, mas is the formal, polite verb form, and then the informal form always ends u. So I know I mentioned that mas actually ends u, but we don't hear that. So those are mas verbs, they're formal, and then the informal ones, they will just end u, like taberu, or in this case, nomu.
Nomu.
So the informal of nomimasu is nomu. So will you drink in good informal company? Will you drink?
飲む
That's it. Well done. Normal. So you have to think about what to leave out. Interesting,
Yeah.
right? And then say less.
Yeah.
Normal. The word for what was nani, and the word for something.
どこか
Nani is what?
あ何か
Nanika. Good.
何か
Will you drink something? Still informally.
何か飲む
Nanika normal. Good. And this might also imply want, by the way. That's something else that can be contextual. No. So the context might be someone arriving at your house or you opening the fridge. No.
Right.
And then you say nanika normal. You don't need to say, do you want to drink something? It's clear in that
Right.
context. Do you drink something can stand in for do you want to drink something. So in Japanese, we have formal verbs ending mas, like tabemasu and nomimasu, to eat and to drink, and then informal versions ending u, taberu, nomu. Not all words have formal and informal forms in Japanese, but all verbs do. The formal form ends mas and the informal ends u. Track number 6. What was to eat?
食べます
Tabemasu. And informally?
食べる
Good. To drink?
飲みます飲む
Good. Nomimasu and nomu. Good. The word for noodles in Japanese is ramen. Ramen.
Ramen.
I think this word's entered English, hasn't it? Or not?
Yeah, it's ramen. You just have it.
Ramen.
Yeah.
So this is the Japanese R, right? So it's going to be between an R and an L.
Right.
And especially when a word has entered English, it might be harder for us to remember that, right?
Yeah.
That we'd be more likely to pronounce it like an R, no?
Sure, yeah.
So ramen, ramen, ramen.
Ramen. Ramen.
Good. So you could say, I eat noodles. The verb tends to come at the end. So we're going to say, noodles I eat.
ラーメン食べます
Good. Ramen tabemas. Do you or will you eat noodles?
ラーメン食べますか
Good. Ramen tabemasu ka? And informally?
ラーメン食べる
Good. Ramen taberu? Now, we have a particle, o, to show what we're eating or drinking, no? We could say, ramen o tabemasu, but in spoken language, as it's such an obvious relationship, it tends to be left out.
Right.
So, it's grammatically correct. Ramen o tabemasu. But maybe in the spoken language, you'd only use it maybe to emphasize a little bit what you're eating or something like that.
Right.
No? So we have a particle there, but it's such an obvious use that in the formal and the informal, it tends to be left out in spoken Japanese. No, ramen tabemasu ka or ramen o tabemasu ka, depending on if we put the o. And now that sentence informally, it's still a question.
ラーメン食べる
Good. Ramen taberu. So tabemasu becomes taberu for informal, and we also leave out the ka and are much more likely to leave out the o than in an informal than in a formal sentence. Although o is very expendable generally. So in this way, actually, we can begin to understand formality as a kind of spectrum, like ramen o tabemasu ka being the most proper, no, and then ramen tabemasu ka without the o. Then we bring it right down, making the informal verb ramen no taberu, which we're much more likely to lose the o there anyway, but we could put it if we want to be a bit more gentle in a situation in which we're speaking informally, right? So it really is a spectrum. So then ramen no taberu, and then just ramen taberu. No?
So many options.
Yeah. So we can really think
or
of...
just ramen.
Yeah, if you knew what you... If you knew that you were talking about eating, if that was contextually, there you could put it. You could just say that, right? So, you know, we can think of formality as a spectrum, which might sound complicated when we describe it in this way, right? But basically, it's just about how proper you're speaking. As the relationship relaxes, so does your speech. That's the general.
Yeah.
Beer, in Japanese, is biru.
Biru.
Obviously an imported word from English. The long vowel there is mimicking the English beer. So long vowel, biru.
Biru.
Do you drink beer?
ビール飲みますか
Good. Biru nomimasu ka? Biru o nomimasu ka? Informally?
ビール飲む
Biru nomu. So biru nomu could mean, do you drink beer? Does he drink beer? Does your mom or boyfriend or friend drink beer? So long as the context is clear, we don't need to say who is drinking. If the context isn't clear though, or if we want to emphasize who or what is doing something, we can of course include it. So whilst a word like he is usually left out, we have the word if we need it. He in Japanese is kare, kare.
彼
When we use a word like kare to show who is doing the verb, we'll mark it with a particle. Which particle we use depends on if we're emphasizing or clarifying when we say kare. If we just mean to show who is doing the verb because it's not obvious, so if we're clarifying, no, because there's room for confusion, we use the particle wa.
は
Wa. So saying the word for he drinks beer, formally, how would we do that? He drinks beer.
彼はビールを飲みます
Kare wa biru o nomimasu. Good. Kare wa biru o nomimasu. Does your friend drink beer? Of course, if we know we mean your friend, we can leave out tomodachi, the word for friend. We can leave that out entirely. But if we want to clarify it, we include it and mark it with the appropriate particle wa. So, does your friend drink beer?
友達はビールを飲みますか
Tomodachi wa biru o nomimasu ka? Good. And informally, we can and will usually leave out wa because it's another obvious function like o. So give me the most informal and relaxed version of 友達はビールを飲みますか? So,
ビール飲む?
But we're including the word for 友達.
Yeah.
But we don't need to mark it with the Y anymore.
Right. 友達ビール飲む?
Yeah, it's hard to leave out all the stuff you have to learn, right?
Sounds so weird.
It's because you have to leave out everything you've learned.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's an interesting learning experience, right? Because it's like you learn the structure, then you've got to consciously remove it. 友達ビール飲む?
Right.
So if we include who is doing the verb, we mark that with a particle. If we're including that information just to clarify it, the particle is wa. But instead of clarifying, we're including this information to emphasize it, to highlight it, to stress it. In that case, the correct particle isn't wa, but ga. So formally again, is it your friend that drinks beer? Is your friend the one who drinks beer? Maybe that's how we would do that emphatic highlighting thing in English, right? Rather than just saying, does your friend drink beer? Is the friend the one that drinks beer? Is it your friend that drinks beer? This is more the feeling we'll get with ga, no?
Right.
Stressing the subject. So how is that? Does your friend drink beer?
彼がビールを飲みますか?
But friend, not he.
Oh, sorry, yeah. 友達がビールを飲みますか?
Good. 友達がビールを飲みますか? So we'll commonly see both wa and ga marking who is doing a verb. No, generally speaking, if it's for clarification purposes only, it's wa. If it's for emphasis, ga. So for example, if he drinks beer and we're including the word for he because for whatever reason it's simply not clear in context, how would we say that formally? He drinks beer.
彼がビールを
So sorry.
That's right.
It's simply not clear in context. So we're only including it not to clarify. What particle do we use?
彼は
Wa. Good.
彼はビールを飲みます。か?
Right? Does he drink beer? But now let's imagine a different situation. This kare, this he that we're talking about, happens to be 12 years old, right? So now when we say he drinks beer, we have a completely different context, right? Our surprise makes our including of he much more than a simple clarification.
Right.
No, it's emphatic. We're raising the prominence now of he in the sentence, and we do that with ga. So now he drinks beer in that context.
彼がビールを飲みますか?
Good. And informally, that same sentence.
ビールを飲む? ビール飲む?
Good. But if you include he, so we.
彼ビール飲む?
So wa we can remove in informal sentences because wa is just for clarification.
Yeah.
Here with ga, we want that extra feeling. If we remove it, we lose the nuance, don't we?
Okay.
So it's a good point of differentiation, right? Like wa, ka, they're just kind of like for formality, for form, but then ga has yo, for example, as well. And we can kind of think of ga as a mixture of wa and yo. That's one way of thinking about it. Then if we lose that, we actually lose the meaning. We lose the surprise of that 12-year-old drinks beer. Right? So give me that again. He drinks beer.
彼がビール飲む?
彼がビール飲む? And in both of these sentences, formal and informal, we might be more likely to include the o here to mark the object as well because it's beer and he's 12. Right? So that's a kind of case where, again, like something like this that's very optional, we might include it. 彼がビールを飲む? 彼がビールを飲みますか? No? Also gives more prominence to the object, the thing being drunk, the beer in this case. So ga is similar to yo in that sense, in that it's emphatic or exclamatory, no? But rather than acting on the verb, it acts on the person. Kare ga. We might even think of ga as a mixture between wa and yo, no? So kare is he, and the word for boyfriend is kareshi. Kareshi. The shi on the end there is a little like san, no? Mario-san.
Right.
An old honorary addition, making the word kareshi something like Mr. He, which is, I think, a very cool way to say boyfriend. Mr. He. Here's my Mr. He. It's brilliant. Karehi, kareshi, boyfriend. So you might want to ask, what does your boyfriend eat? Including the word for boyfriend, but without any emphasis. The word for what was nani. So, what does your boyfriend eat? Your boyfriend, what eats?
Nani wa? Nani wa?
So we're including the word for boyfriend, so start there.
Kareshi wa
彼氏は
nani o tabemasu ka?
Good. 彼氏は何を食べますか or 彼氏は何食べますか Either. And now let's make it informal. The same sentence. What does your boyfriend eat informally?
Kareshi nani taberu?
Good. 彼氏何食べる or 彼氏は何食べる You could have either, no? But like very well done, you can leave the wa out with informal sentences. Good. So yeah, in this case, both particles, the wa and the o, are expendable. 彼氏何食べる彼氏は何を食べる But, you know, depends on where on the spectrum your formality is falling. Good. So if we wanted to add some of the feeling of yo to kareshi, some of that exclamatory feeling, be it in a contradictory or contrasting way, like not your friend, your boyfriend, or be it, you know, I'm asking about your boyfriend specifically as he's a vegetarian.
Right.
We can raise the prominence of the subject and replace wa with ga. So now, formally, will your boyfriend eat a sandwich? And sandwich is sandwichi. So, and we mean specifically your boyfriend, not anyone else. Will your boyfriend eat a sandwich?
Kareshi wa sandwichi o tabemasu ka?
Good, but we're having that extra emphasis on kareshi. So we're not just saying, will your boyfriend eat a sandwich? With that tone, so maybe no one wants a sandwich or whatever tone you can imagine that makes you stress that. Will your boyfriend eat a sandwich?
So there's no kareshi ga sandwichi o tabemasu ka?
Good. 彼氏がサンドイッチを食べますか or just サンドイッチ食べますか Very good. Now, if we make this sentence informal, ga is not expendable like wa. No, because it's emphatic. So that's the meaning we want to communicate. So if that's the meaning we want to communicate, we cannot lose ga in the informal sentence. So give me the informal. Does your boyfriend, or will your boyfriend eat a sandwich?
彼氏がサンドイッチを食べる?
彼氏がサンドイッチ食べる. More common without the o in the informal sentences, but yeah, there could always be a reason why you might want to put that, you know. So for maybe you would put the o also if you're highlighting sandwich because maybe before you suggested something else.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, all right.
Number 7. So the word for he is kare, and the word for who was? Dare. Who is it? Formally, so using des. Who is it?
誰ですか?
Dare desu ka? So when we say who is it, we know that we're actually leaving out information. We don't say it or he or she. No, who is he, who is she, who is it? As that's usually known information who we're asking about. We just say who is, dare desu ka? But if we want to include that information, of course we can. No, now that we know one ga. So who is he, including the word for he? 彼が誰ですか? So,
彼は誰ですか?
Right, yeah, there's no special emphasis here, right? We're just including it good for clarification. 彼は誰ですか? 彼は誰ですか? In the same way, if we want to say the beer is cold, but we know we're talking about the beer, we know already we're talking about the beer, all we have to say is, that's the code that we have for beer, beginning su.
ビールは冷たいです.
Yeah, but if we know we're talking about the beer,
ビール
we know we're talking about
Oh, yeah. 冷たいです.
冷たいです,
Yeah.
right? So only if we don't know we're talking about the beer,
Sure.
we will say ビールは冷たいです.
Yeah.
It's very un-Japanese, really, to repeat the subject. You might do it to try and be a bit more formal, but you've got to be careful there as well, because you might just sound like really infantilizing and patronizing. You know?
Right, okay.
So, you know, you have to think about as much about what you're not going to say in Japanese as what you are going to say.
Right.
冷たいです. But if we don't know we're talking about the beer and we want to clarify it,
ビールは冷たいです.
ビールは冷たいです. Just wa, no, in order to clarify. But if we wanted to emphasize it in some way, the subject, if we wanted to emphasize the subject in some way, instead of wa, we might use
が
ga. So maybe someone asks us what drinks are cold, If we answer the beers are cold, we're not including the subject the beers just to clarify. It's much more important than that. It's actually a direct answer to the question. So in that case, we'd also use ga, no? As a direct answer to a question, what drinks are cold? When you say the beers are cold, even in English you can say the beers are, there's an emphasis there.
Yeah.
So how would that be?
ビールが冷たいです。
ビールが冷たいです. Apart from this function we've seen of highlighting the subject, ga can also be used like the word but, which stems from its contrastive or emphatic character. So you might say, the beer is cold, but I drink lemonade. And for that but, you can use ga. So lemonade is remonedo. Again, we're going to have to think more about pronouncing something between an R and an L. Remonedo, remonedo.
Remonedo.
The beer is cold, but I drink lemonade. Then let's make that sentence formal. So the first bit is, the beer is cold,
ビールは冷たいです。
but
が
I drink lemonade.
レモネードを飲みます。
Very good. ビールは冷たいですか？レモネードを飲みます。No? And when we say ビールは, the wa is just what we use to include the word for beer, just for clarification. No? But maybe we could emphasize the subject to kind of give the meaning of, the beer might be cold, but I drink lemonade. I don't care how cold the beer is.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
So how would that be?
So, ビールが冷たいがレモネードを飲む。
All right, good. You did it all informal.
I went casual there.
Yeah, you did.
I got really relaxed.
You were consistent. You were consistent. So informally, ビールが冷たいがレモネードを飲む or レモネードを飲む and then formally ビールが冷たいですがレモネードを飲みます My boyfriend drinks sake, but my friend drinks beer. So sake is Japanese rice wine, no, but it's also used to mean alcohol generally, so that's also contextual. My boyfriend drinks sake, and we're going to name the people for clarification.
We're going to name the people. So, 彼氏は酒を飲みます。Oh, you wanted ga, I think.
No.
No? Okay.
We're just naming them just for clarification, not special emphasis. So,
彼氏は
sake
oh,
nom...
yeah.
Go on.
Go on, you go.
No, you go.
彼氏は酒を飲みます。
彼氏は酒を飲みます or 彼氏は酒飲みます But ga, so there we have ga acting like but. My friend drinks beer.
友達はビール飲みます。
友達はビール飲みます or ビールを飲みます Very good. So ga can be a particle we mark the subject with that doesn't really have a straightforward translation.
Yeah.
No, it can be translated in many different ways, in tone or with extra words in English. And then it can also just be but. No, use like the word but. Both uses stem from the same contrastive or emphatic feel of ga. The massive flexibility of particles. Hold on, I think I need to get out of this.
Are you getting blinded by the...
I'm trying to ignore it and go, oh, vitamin D is lovely. But then
There's only so much vitamin D you can
I can hear
handle.
my neurons complaining at the back of my brain. I've quite a light sensitivity. All right. So ga can be a particle we mark the subject with that doesn't really have a straightforward translation, or it can be used like but. Both uses stem from the same contrastive or emphatic feel of ga. This massive flexibility of particles does mean that we don't want to assume we know what a particle is doing just because we recognize it. So maintaining an open mind for new uses of the particles we already know will help us spot them quicker in Japanese.
Right.
Remind me the word for who?
Dare.
Dare. If we ask who eats or wants to eat sandwiches, we are not saying who to clarify who we're talking about. Don't actually know who we're talking about. Who isn't something we can leave out. So who dare is necessarily emphatic when we're asking who. So how do you think we might say that? Who eats sandwiches? Let's be informal again. Tabemasu was to eat formally and informally?
Taberu.
Good. So who eats sandwiches?
Dare wa sandwich taberu?
Good, but as I mentioned, dare is necessarily emphatic.
Yeah.
Right? It's not something we can leave out. So wa doesn't quite cut it. Why is something that we have to clarify, like kare, which is optional. Kare,
Right.
we can leave it out if we put it just to clarify kare wa. But when it comes to dare, we can't leave that out. We'd lose all the meaning, won't we?
Yeah.
Because it's who, so it's important. So it's dare ga.
誰が
Yeah,
Okay.
always.
誰が
Always
サン
when
ド
you're
イッチ
questioning.
を食べる
Again, sorry?
誰がサンドイッチを食べる
誰がサンドイッチ食べる誰がサンドイッチ食べる Who eats sandwiches or who wants to eat sandwiches? No? So we don't ever say 誰は because why isn't strong enough a subject marker for a question word? Question words are not expendable like other words like 彼 No?
So you never say 誰は
No, because if you was to leave 誰 out, you'd lose all the meaning, right? So you know it's not simple clarification. No?
Yep.
Question words are not expendable like other words. It's one of the few times we can't leave out the person. If we don't say dare, we lose all the meaning entirely. So dare goes with ga. Who drinks or wants to drink some lemonade? Who wants to drink some lemonade? Let's be informal.
誰がレモネード飲む
誰がレモネード飲む? And as I mentioned, when we answer a question directly, we are much more likely to use ga than wa, because when we give an answer to a question, the answer is important. Again, the subject is more than just clarifying, no? It's the answer to your question. So we're not including that just to clarify. It's much more important than that. The answer is going to go with ga. So to 誰がレモネード飲む who wants to drink some lemonade, we could reply, he drinks lemonade. And there we're not just including kare for clarification, it's the information being solicited. So how would we reply that? He drinks lemonade.
彼はレモネードを飲みます
Kare what?
彼が
Kare ga.
彼がレモネード
It's
を
more
飲みます
important now than
You're
just
accentuating
that. So it's not like, we're just saying something and clarifying who we're talking
Yeah.
about. We're giving you a response to your question.
Yeah.
It is the essential part of the sentence.
Right.
So
It's more
why, the
important.
why isn't for that.
Okay. Yeah.
彼が
彼が
レモネードを飲む. And of course we can avoid repeating information and just say 彼が. So we have 誰 for who or whom, and likewise 彼 can mean he or him. So with him would be, how would you say that? With him.
彼と
彼と. So 彼 is he or him depending on what it's doing in the sentence. Who will drink beer with him? Formally, who will drink beer with him?
誰と No.
So split up the ideas. This is
Yeah.
going to help you. Don't push yourself to go that tiny bit faster than you're comfortable with, because then we'll start mixing up. Like, I know the ideas right in your head, but then
Yeah.
the words get mixed up. So
Yeah.
split it up. Who would drink beer with him? The first bit is, so in English you're going to say, who with him beer will drink.
Yeah.
Think about each bit of those separately without thinking about the rest.
Could I say 彼は誰と No, that doesn't work, does it?
No, so you're working
I'm
with
still
the
doing it
whole
backwards.
idea.
Right.
And one of the best things you can do to achieve fluency quicker and also, not create lots of confusing thought that you need to overwrite consciously afterwards is just slow down.
Slow down.
Work on one idea at a time. Because I can see that you're working with the whole idea and then we get like a bit of a salad. All the bits are there, they're just in the wrong place, right? So we're going to say, who with him beer will drink? The first bit is who, and we're asking who.
誰
And we're asking who. It's important. It's very important.
誰が
Dare ga. So ga, the bit that we can't leave out, wa can be left out, right? Ga can't because it's very important.
Yeah.
Dare ga with
誰
him
が彼と
will drink beer.
ビールを飲みますか
Prav.
Yeah.
You see how much easier it gets when you just stop pushing yourself that little bit too fast. I'm really glad that it's brilliant that happened as well because it's what everybody does. So it's good that I get to instruct people in that way. 彼が What did it? 誰が彼とビールを飲みますか? 誰が彼とビールを飲みますか? And Japanese word order is very flexible, not least because the particles show us what's going on. So that would be the most natural word order. No, we start with the who, 誰が, then with him, 彼と, and then the beer which relates to drinking likely to come together. ビールを飲みますか? ビールを飲みますか? But if we want to stress with him, we could put that bit first. So, maybe you want to say like, who wants to drink beer with him? You know, like maybe we really don't like him. No, we could change the natural word order and put that bit first. We can say, with him who wants to drink beer.
彼と誰 Alright, let me start again. 彼と誰はビールを飲みますか?
Good, but how would you mark dare? It's much more important than just the general topic. It's much more important than wa. It needs some elevation. It's necessarily a bit emphatic.
Okay. Do you know, I've forgotten the sentence in English now.
Let me rewind a little bit as well, because to get this idea,
Yeah.
it's good also to notice that questions in English are necessarily emphatic.
Sure.
If you think about it,
Yeah.
when you say I go,
Yeah.
you can make that emphatic by saying I do go.
I do go, yeah.
But then when you make the question, you also include do. Do you go?
Sure.
So according to English also, there is some emphasis, necessary emphasis within the question.
Okay.
So the same goes for Japanese. So never dare wa, but
誰が
dare ga.
誰が
Good. So
Okay.
who wants to drink beer with him? And we have that emphasis on with him. We can bring it forward in the sentence
Right.
to do that.
So we're starting off with 彼と誰がビールを飲みますか?
Very good. 彼とビールが You're affecting me.
I'm bringing you down.
I'm sure it's the blood sugar. I'm sure it's the blood sugar. 彼と誰がビールを飲みますか?
Okay.
Very good. Now let it go. Forget it.
Oh, no,
Forget
I'll
it.
try and let it go.
Because the more you let everything go, the
Yeah.
better you will think about each individual
It's
sentences
tough to do
on
that,
its
isn't it?
merits. Yeah. But it's
tough to
actually
do.
such a pleasure, because once you
Yeah.
realise you don't need to hold anything, you don't need to hold on to anything.
Yeah.
It actually will bring you back. Like the best thing you can do is just forget it. You join the nuance in the right way. Now let it go.
Amazing.
Anything that you hold on to is going to cloud that. It's going to interfere with the next sentences. You have such a freedom when you're not
Yeah.
trying to memorize. You know.
Alright.
Okay, so with that emphasis, 彼と誰がビールを飲みますか? So observing in real life how word order changes within the context of real life situations will further allow us to master nuance in Japanese. No? So, you know, for one part we have the particles, we have the formal and informal verbs, and also word order. All of this to achieve different nuances. Very much like British English, you know, that has so many different ways of achieving different nuances to be polite, and then polite without being patronizing and all of that. Simply being consciously aware that word order is something else, just like the use of particles that Japanese uses to convey different nuances, will help us pick it up on the go. So just being aware that you have a natural word order, and then you can bend that for different emphasis. How would we say the same sentence informally and without any change from the natural word order? So we're going to say, who will drink beer with him, without the stress, just informal. who will drink beer with him? So without stressing any part, just the normal word order.
Who will drink beer with him?
Informally.
誰? So I can just say wa, but if I'm being really informal, then I'll leave
But
it
you have a
out.
question here, don't you?
I do have a question, so it's 誰が. It
Good.
always has to be 誰が.
And no
Can never
option
leave
about
that
leaving guy out.
Okay. 誰が彼と飲みます? Or 飲むか? No, 飲む. Oh, let me start that again. I got this. 誰が彼と飲む?
Good. We left out the beer, but hey, we might know that we're talking about that. 誰が彼と飲む? 誰が彼とビール飲む? So both to and ga are indispensable particles. No, because of their meaning would be lost if we left them out. So that would be the natural word order. 誰が彼とビール飲む? And if you wanted to stress with him,
If it's with him that's the stress, then I'm going to bring that forward. I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to say 誰と誰がビールを飲みますか? Or ビールを飲む.
ビール飲む if we're informal, right?
Yeah.
So 彼と誰が
誰が
ビール飲む?
彼と誰がビールを飲む?
Good.
Yeah.
Now we want to shake all that off. We want a free mind. Shake it all off. Don't try and remember anything.
Get it out.
That's it. All right. So we have a decision to make, no, between one ga. When we state who is doing a verb, if we're stating it just to clarify, wa. if it's more emphatic because of the context or because of the linguistic context. So, for example, when we're asking and answering questions, very similar to how, do there is emphatic in English, then we have ga. So that's the difference in a nutshell, but you might find that it is normal to emphasize some things in Japanese that you might not in English, no? And so, like with all things, we get a better understanding of the difference between wa and ga by noticing when they're used in live context and thinking about why. Track number 8. Bravo, you. You may have heard the greeting konnichiwa. Konnichiwa, often translated as good day, but now we can take a look at how it's built. What do we have on the end there? Konnichiwa. Wa. So we're not actually saying good day, but rather just this day, konnichi, and then we kind of make it the topic of the utterance with wa. So it's a bit of an odd sentence, a bit of an odd greeting. No, but it's very interesting because we're not presuming to instruct someone to have a good day, as we might in English. No, that might clash with some of the tenets of Japanese politeness to like go around giving imperatives to people. Have a good day. No, we simply acknowledge that we see someone and that we inhabit the same time and space as them. And we do that. That's the way I like to think about it.
That's beautiful.
And we do that by saying this day, konnichiwa, making it the subject of our utterance rather than who we're addressing. No? So the same goes for the evening greeting, translated as good evening, konbanwa. No? Not good evening, literally, just this evening, konban, followed by wa, konbanwa. And so we actually get the word for this from these greetings. Well, almost. This is kono. Kono. It's been shortened to kon in konnichiwa, konbanwa, but it's kono. So if you want to say this food,
kono tabemono.
Good. Kono tabemono. This beer,
Kono biru.
Kono
biru.
Very good. Kono biru. The long vowel is important, and if you pronounce biru like you did, this is actually like very serendipitous because I've actually had this bit written here.
Did on purpose, didn't I?
Yeah. Alright, sorry. So the long vowel is important. If you notice, if you pronounce biru with a short vowel, we'll actually get a different word. Biru means building. So if you want to say this building,
Kono biru.
Kono biru. This beer,
Kono biru.
if you want to ask if it's this building, talking formally, how would you do that? Is it this building?
This building, kono biru desu ka?
Kono biru desu ka? Kono biru desu ka? No wa here, no, because it is the thing we're not saying that would be marked with wa, right? So it's just literally, this building is kono biru desu ka? Now let's make the sentence informal. Is it this building?
Kono biru.
Kono biru. So biru is building, but beer is?
Biru.
Biru. Good. And if we say something like, this beer is cold, if we know we mean this beer, of course we can just say tsumetai desu, but if we need to include this beer to show what we mean,
Kono biru wa tsumetai desu.
good. Kono biru wa tsumetai desu. Good. So wa is simply what we need to use to include kono biru. But if we use ga, it would sound more like, this is the beer that's cold. Like, i.e. not the other ones, or I found the cold one, or maybe even in context, I found the coldest one. No, it really depends on context, but Guy's going to raise kono biru to more prominence. Right. So there are many different inferences we can get by choosing ga over wa, rather than all of those extra words we'd use in English.
Right.
No? This beer is good. Keep it informal.
Kono biru ii.
Kono biru ii. Good.
Kono biru ii.
And as we've discussed though, we are translating ideas rather than words, and the idea of ii would only be good in the sense of quality or healthy. Ii with food or beer means good in that sense, but not tasty like we often use in English. Like we often use it in English, good, no? Yeah. So tasty or delicious, which we casually say is good in English with food, is oishii. Oishii.
Oishii.
So we have double I on the end again there. I, oishii. So is this beer tasty?
Kono biru wa oishii?
Kono biru oishii?
Kono biru wa oishii?
Or kono biru wa oishii? And now the same sentence formally. Is this beer tasty?
Kono biru wa oishii desu ka?
Kono biru
wa oishii desu ka? Oishii desu ka?
Good. Oishii desu ka?
Kono biru wa oishii desu ka?
Good. Water is mizu, mizu.
Mizu.
If we want to ask if this water is good to drink, we could use I, or we could use daijobu, which means okay. Now, in the sense of are you okay, or okay to drink. So let's use daijobu. Is this water okay to drink? That's what we'd be implying. We don't need to say to drink. Just, is this water okay? Let's speak formally.
Mizu wa daijoubu desu ka?
Good, but this water?
Oh, kono mizu wa kono mizu wa daijoubu desu ka?
Good. Kono mizu wa daijobu desu ka? Kono mizu wa daijobu desu ka? Is this water delicious? Is it tasty?
Kono mizu wa oishii desu ka?
Good. Kono mizu wa oishii desu ka? And what if we want to say this tasty water? We have the same word order as in English, this tasty water.
Kono oishii mizu.
Good. Kono oishii mizu. This tasty lemonade?
Kono oishii lemonade.
Kono oishii lemonedo.
Oishii lemonade.
Remonedo. We have a long vowel in the air. Good.
Lemonade.
Who will drink this tasty lemonade?
誰は
Formally, formally.
誰がこの美味しいレモネード飲みますか?
誰がこの美味しいレモネードを飲みますか? And I said that all might be left out. 誰がこの美味しいレモネードを飲みますか? Good. And informally?
誰がこの美味しいレモネード飲む? 誰がこの美味しいレモネードを飲む?
Very good.
Yeah.
So I've mentioned how particles help make Japanese word order flexible, and so if we want to emphasize this delicious lemonade, who will drink this delicious lemonade that we've just made in the kitchen, fresh with Sicilian lemons? That's a thing now, isn't it, in the UK?
Sounds good. I want one.
All the lemonades like Sicilian lemons on the label.
Yeah.
Right. So we can put that part of the sentence up front if you want to stress that. Now, if you want to stress this delicious lemonade, so let's do that. Again, informally, who will drink this delicious lemonade?
この美味しいレモネードが
So the emphasis there, you're achieving it just by putting it up front.
Right.
But you could add the particle that we tend to leave out for extra emphasis. That's good, right? The or that marks the object, right?
Sure,
so,
of course.
この美味しいレモネードを who drinks?
この美味しいレモネードを誰が飲みますか?
Good. Or informally?
飲む.
No, good. この美味しいレモネード or maybe more likely to put it there because we're bringing, we're emphasizing the object. 誰が飲む? Very good. Well done.
That is good.
Yeah.
Mate, you smashed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was brilliant.